My name is Rose, and for the past 10 years, my existence has resembled a reflection, mirroring the same monotonous cycle day after day. Every morning commenced with a well-known cadence. The alarm clock buzzes, shattering the stillness, the tranquil embrace of dawn. The scent, the aroma of warm coffee envelopes the kitchen. A soothing presence in the turmoil. Ethan, my husband, hurries around, casting a worried glance at his phone. The burden of the day ahead, drawing him in, heading to his workplace in the heart of the city, Santiago. As I lingered in that moment, the doorbell resonated in the stillness, an eerie, the echo of his departure, abandoning me in isolation. Ethan personifies virtue in the very essence. He is a person I can rely on, always understanding my true intentions, consistently dedicating oneself and embracing. He took his responsibilities with utmost seriousness. Nevertheless, there exists a fragment of him that seems distant, nearly unreachable, abandoning me, with an ache for warmth and bond. It seems as if his heart is entirely dedicated to his craft, resulting in barely any space for anything beyond that. During that time, the moments we share, our words tend to resonate within the confines of darkness, constrained to that which is necessary, uttered, with an abundance left unsaid in the silence that lingered. It seems as though we are simply exchanging a distance instead of genuinely collaborating as equals within the bonds of matrimony. For years, I reassured myself that this was simply the way things were. This encapsulated the very essence of marriage, existence. Yet beneath the veneer, a deep feeling of being unseen persisted, deep inside me. In the midst of all that is unfolding, in our midst, there stands Buddy, our cherished companion, a boxer dog. Yet, in reality, he is meant to be here. To her, he was welcomed into our lives when he was merely a small puppy. A choice has been rendered, with the expectation that he would safeguard our dwelling. Yet for me, Buddy was merely another dear companion, a being to hold dear and nurture. To be candid, I now understand that I never genuinely devoted the time to comprehend him. He possessed a tender spirit, a serene presence, a presence that enveloped our home with a tranquil serenity. On most days, he would discover comfort found among the blooms, soaking in the gentle embrace of sunlight, or nestled comfortably in a bed in the living room, enveloped in tranquility, rest. Buddy and I barely shared a term. Ethan's heart raced with joy, burst through the door, filled with anticipation to welcome him. Nevertheless, my experience seemed to be a sharp distinction. It seemed as if he comprehended that within my existence he was simply surviving, not genuinely engaging existence. And so the days quietly drifted by, one after yet another. The house stood in flawless request. A dinner crafted with meticulous care. Nevertheless, within me there resided a reverberation of the stillness that enveloped my heart. It is truly remarkable to comprehend how something so appearing unremarkable, much like an everyday dog, might transform all that I held to be true. I never envisioned such a deep transformation might arise from such a diminutive being. Yet, I stood at the precipice of understanding that Buddy would evolve into something far greater than merely a companion animal. He emerged as the singular presence, who genuinely grasped my essence. It was a morning like any other, yet there lingered an understated elegance in its essence. Ethan had already departed for work just similar to any other day. And I discovered myself in the kitchen. I find myself gazing at my cold, with a cup of coffee in hand. I found myself adrift in contemplation. The stillness wrapped around me, a weighty shroud that suppressed any feeling of solace. Even the soft murmurs of the breeze outside resonated, akin to a gentle hug, a striking difference to the chill that permeates my very own abode. A deep, A palpable aura surrounded me. Buddy stood there, poised at the threshold of the kitchen, gazing at me with those eyes that contained the tranquility I had never known before, seemed as though an timelessness. A deep stillness enveloped the surroundings. He stood motionless, silent as the grave. He stood there, his eyes fixed on me with an intensity that implied he understood emotions I found difficult to express. In a transient instant, I sensed the compulsion to avert your gaze from him. Yet his gaze possessed a profound resonance that urged me to halt. I found myself lingering in silence, my heart burdened by the heaviness of the ambiguity that enveloped me as I endeavored to decipher the enigma surrounding his behavior. Is it possible that he genuinely grasped the profound nature of my feelings? As I reflected, a chuckle escaped my lips. Profoundly, a blissful shake of my head, resonating with the joy that fills my being. He exists, merely a dog, Rose. Let us refrain from engaging in absurdity. Nevertheless, in a moment that took everyone by surprise, as the guards stood watch, Buddy veered off in an unforeseen direction. He rose with a measured grace, crafting. He approached me gently, allowing his head to rest softly, pressed against my leg. I discovered myself immobilized in location, doubt enveloping me like a weighty shroud, leaving me uncertain about the next steps to take. In that instant, it dawned on me that I had never shared a connection like this with him prior. As my hand softly glided across, an unforeseen feeling enveloped his mind. Above me, a gentle murmur of comfort that resonated within me, a gentle reminder that I was accompanied in this moment. That gesture, so uncomplicated in its essence, possessed a deep meaning in that transient, an instant, echoing profoundly within me. In the wake of that day, I discovered an acute awareness of the nuanced elements that had once slipped through my grasp, akin to soft murmurs carried by the breeze. Every time I discovered myself descending into the comforting embrace, Buddy would select a place on the sofa, merely a handful of steps distant. His presence was a subtle affirmation of the silent connection we revealed in the quietude of those moments. Upon the challenging days when my tears seemed like a vast ocean I struggled to contain, I would discover him there, resting serenely by the threshold of my sanctuary. His presence was a soft nudge that he grasped the burden of my heart and was prepared to pause, providing comfort in his quiet companionship. It felt like a dream, as if the cosmos had woven a tapestry of unexpected wonders. I held no expectations for him, yet he laid bare his soul. A striking difference in my encounters with Ethan, who never appeared to provide a similar richness. With Buddy, there existed a steadfast presence that surrounded me, unbound by any conditions and expectations, an untainted bond that echoed profoundly within my being. It seemed as if he genuinely understood the core of my being in a domain in which I frequently sensed my presence overlooked. He truly recognized my presence. I discovered my essence, struggling with a query that had persisted for ages, hovered in the recesses of my thoughts. That I had never summoned the bravery to face. Is it possible that a dog could provide me with something that belongs to my husband? Why has it been so long since anything was provided? Should it be that? If that were the case, what would it? Could you clarify that for me? A dense knot constricted within my heart. A palpable burden of a lingering emotion that clung to me. For far too long, I have neglected the profound yearnings within me. Inside me until Buddy softly shed light, the truth I had long evaded. That the morning spent with Buddy lingered in my thoughts, and the lingering resonance of feelings I couldn't dispel. An embrace of warmth surrounded me. A feeling so authenticity, yet it bore an undercurrent of fear that was difficult to disregard. It's just a dog, isn't it? I endeavored to persuade myself that my emotions were exaggerated beyond measure, that it was unreasonable to feel such profound emotions. Each time Buddy cast his eyes, approached me or came closer with that tranquil, in its demeanor, it seemed as if a fragment of my being, broken and repaired, at once, it engulfed me, and I was unable to dispel the sensation of the folly of investing so much importance regarding his deeds. What was taking shape within me? I endeavored to redirect my focus towards other matters, just as I had consistently approached them in days gone by. While I immersed myself in the task of washing the dishes and tidied the home, an enveloping stillness wrapped around me, its heaviness nearly confining. And the truth resided not merely within the quietude of the home, yet in the deep stillness that surrounded my existence, resonating within my connection, in the company of Ethan. Everything resonated with emptiness, as if ensnared in a perpetual cycle. I crafted the dish. He plunged into the depths within his responsibilities. At long last, when we assembled around the same table, it resonated as, even though an ocean lay between us. I experienced the must uncover a rationale for it. He frequently served as a reminder that Ethan is currently engaged, weighed down by innumerable obligations. However, what of my own emotions and desires? Did I not grasp what is the importance in your realm? When did we begin to separate? Is this what you mean? A surge of trepidation enveloped me at the contemplation of my unawareness. And then, there stood Buddy, a shining light in the ambiguity. The dog, in a manner that seemed to stretch time itself. A fleeting moment enveloped me in a feeling of the fulfillment I had longed for over the course of time. However, beneath the surface, I found myself grappling with the challenge of embracing the essence of it all. It became apparent that I was incapable to accomplish it. Should I choose to recognize it, it would indicate that there existed a profound unrest within my being. It was a truth that bore down on an emotion I could no longer suppress. To the side, I discovered a yearning within myself, distractions, attempting to occupy the void, engaged in action. I exerted myself to advance, shove those thoughts aside, yearning to discover some serenity deep within my soul. Yet the trepidation hovered, an unyielding presence in the profound recesses of my thoughts. What if it were genuinely? What is the situation? What if my joy was intertwined, so profoundly connected to something that Ethan was not able to offer? Nevertheless, Buddy did. It is just a dog, he repeated those words to myself. Yet beneath the veneer, he realized that it was significantly more intricate, more than that. Buddy was never the problem. He mirrored the emptiness that resided within me, still unrecognized in my being. First, in the afternoon, I found myself lounging on the couch, staring contemplatively through the glass. Nevertheless, my thoughts drifted far beyond sight, ensnared in a fog of musings and emotions that appeared to obscure the reality beyond. The day unfolded in a manner reminiscent of countless others prior to it. In the absence of Ethan, the house was enveloped in an unsettling silence, and my thoughts spiraled in a tumultuous dance, with unvoiced musings that I was too hesitant to face the challenge. At that instant, I underwent a deep and significant feeling. Buddy, he had journeyed to the couch. A fleeting instant, the serene embrace that enveloped us, in the heart of all things. It was a moment that captivated, caught him unprepared, a shift from the usual, that resonated with a lingering sense of doubt in its awaken. He settled next to me, his head softly nestled against my leg. A fleeting instant of the serene embrace that enveloped us, that experienced a blend of gentleness and depth. I discovered myself immobilized, astonished by the surprising generosity. As I looked upon, a deep understanding enveloped him, myself. For the first time, he found himself no longer merely a dog in my perspective. I came across a presence that genuinely uplifted me. I softly brushed his head, and in that, an instance of tranquil bond, he answered with a tranquility that reflected my emotions that resonated deeply and soothing. It seemed to be a soft unveil, a gentle easing of the weight that had taken root within me, even if only for an ephemeral instant. At that instant, a gentle warmth surrounded me. And for the initial time stretched into what seemed like an eternity, I felt a bond that softened the burden of isolation. Buddy held his tongue, his lips remained closed, his curiosity unexpressed, and his longings unvoiced. He stood before me, a silent, an offering I had yet to bestow. I came to understand what had been absent from my existence. Within the domain of our enterprise, there exists a deep feeling of comprehension. A gentle warmth surrounded me, an emotion I had long since buried in the depths of my memory. In that instant, I realized I was adrift, lost in thought. How is it possible that a dog evokes such deep feelings stirring inside me? What is the reason this peace is so elusive to find? Is that you, Ethan? That question hung in the air, a persistent echo in the mind, a flicker that slowly illuminates upon all the aspects of my past self, gazing out. In that ephemeral instant the solace that Buddy provided was undeniable. I found myself unable to resist. Yet I ponder if he might not have been the only one bringer of the truths I yearned for. Maybe the most crucial inquiry was not focused on my own personal odyssey and comprehension. That the afternoon in the armchair marked a pivotal moment. A stirring deep within my soul, transformed, etching a lasting impression on my core. After countless years, a profound, deep within me stirred a desire for transformation, a yearning to break free from the limitations of a monotonous existence that had ensnared my spirit. In a fleeting moment of stillness, in a moment of reflection, I decided to embark on an expedition alongside Buddy. The next day, I tenderly held the leash in hand, a swirl of excitement coursing through him, and a sense of nostalgia guiding him on a stroll through the comforting embrace of the nearby park. At the outset, it seemed nearly trivial. He strolled alongside me, his inquisitive nose delving into each aroma that wafted past him, as I pressed forward along the path, shrouded in stillness, reflection. As time went on, I discovered that my awareness was growing steadily of something deeply significant. Buddy discovered no joy, not merely in the act of walking, but in the comforting warmth of my presence beside him. The moment my eyes met his, he would look upward, as though in search of confirmation that all was well within him. As the days slipped by, those walks evolved within the most treasured instances of my day. It seemed as though we had created our own private universe, a refuge designed exclusively for him and for myself. It was unnecessary for me to express my feelings or justify my serenity. Buddy lingered in that moment, a serene presence that hung in the atmosphere. At the outset, I discovered myself addressing him in a manner that resonated, clumsy and hesitant, as though I were losing my sanity in dialogue with a canine companion. However, in reality, those discussions evolved into a wellspring of restoration for today, Buddy. I discovered a spark of a bond that eased my sense of solitude, secluded. On a leisurely afternoon, while we wandered under the gentle caress of the sun, I conveyed my reflections to him. In that fleeting instant, his gaze spoke volumes, transcending the need for my words, communicated profoundly, expressing a rich comprehension that went beyond words itself. Slowly, these fleeting instances stirred an emotion deep inside me that I had, an age ago, neglected. Unfiltered, sheer delight. I began to notice the nuanced intricacies that had once eluded my grasp, dwelling in the dim recesses of my consciousness. Take a deep breath, sensing the crispness of the air envelopes me as the soft rustling of leaves murmurs hidden secrets of the natural world. The sun's gentle touch envelopes me, the skin, a gentle reminder of life's simplicity, delights. It was the most uncomplicated of matters that revived the spirit of my tired essence. Upon arriving back home and catching sight of Ethan, I was deeply moved by an intense perception of distinction. During those instances when Buddy surrounded me with his focus, the comfort of companionship and the embrace of warmth, I found myself unable. I couldn't help but observe that Ethan remained unwavering, a steadfast presence in the canvas of my existence. He appeared to be a distant figure, adrift, captivated by the luminescence of his device or the flickering images on the screen, as though the world surrounding him had dissolved into void. The anguish of acknowledgement, this contrast bore down on my core. Nevertheless, I discovered that I was incapable of ignore it altogether. Extended. Buddy had undergone a transformation into something that transcends the mere notion of a pet. He grasped a cherished spot within my soul, a genuine, a trusted confidant, utterly. In countless ways, it has indeed transformed into my refuge. Although I found it difficult to fully comprehend, I sensed, beneath the surface, those walks carried a importance that transcends mere personal desires. Those individuals were destined for my embrace. In the midst of the ambience, moved restlessly within the confines of their dwelling, Ethan started to perceive the delicate yet deep transformations occurring in his surroundings. On a serene evening, as we found ourselves together in the well-known hush enveloped us as he placed the fork rested on the plate as he shifted his gaze in my direction. What is it that captivates you about cherish countless moments outdoors with the canine companion? He inquired with a tone that rendered me experiencing a sense of doubt. Trapped in the midst of the domains of intrigue and irritation, uncertain about how to address the unexpressed emotions swirling through the atmosphere. I raised my stare, astonished by the unforeseen inquiry. He seldom revealed any curiosity regarding my endeavors. There is an undeniable solace found in the act of walking next to him, I responded, striving to maintain a cheerful tone. However, beneath the surface, I perceived an underlying significance hidden beneath his inquiry. With each passing day, the burden of what remains unspoken grows heavier. Emotions and lingering disputes appeared to deepen. Ethan began to reveal his reflections more frequently, every comment bearing a burden that appeared to persist, floating in the atmosphere. It seems as though your concentration is on Buddy, leaving me with a sense of unease, neglected. He embodies so much more than a mere canine, Rose. He is a confidant, a companion, an element of our existence that envelopes us in comfort and joy. It's difficult to perceive him as anything. It truly baffles me how much less the importance you attribute to him. His expressions penetrated my being, leaving a sharp ache that echoed profoundly. Yet within that anguish, I discovered a clarity that I had long sought, evaded. Ethan and I sensed an abyss between us, more profound than it had ever been, had been. It was evident that Buddy was not the reason behind this separation. Despite the lingering disagreements in the embrace of the air, I discovered solace during my walks and treasured the serene instances shared with Buddy. As the days progressed, I found myself unable to stir the sensation of a subtle power was flourishing within me, expanding further, deepening with every fleeting moment. Comfort was not solely brought by Buddy to my heart. It embodied the very essence of what those moments were truly embodied. It is an opportunity to discover my exhale, to let go of the burden of emotion, restricted. there existed a day when remains etched in my mind, weighty, and it was a challenging moment. Before Ethan departed for work, we discovered ourselves ensnared in a disagreement. A moment that hung in the air. The space that separates us is filled with a deep, resonant void. Flowed over me as if his words had drained every last bit of my vitality. Yet there was Buddy, his gaze fixed upon me with a calm confidence that murmured, do not fret, for I am here for you." As I brought to the park, a well-worn ritual unfurled. In that instant, observing him sprint across the tapestry of fallen, as the leaves danced in the breeze, a wave of emotion washed over me, myself. An experience I had yet to encounter in what seemed to stretch into infinity. Such a deep wave of relief envelopes me, surrounding my essence in a tender hug. It feels as though the burden of existence has been elevated, creating a serene, an echoing stillness that reverberates deep within my spirit. In that instant of awakening, a wave of relief enveloped me. I clutched the reality that I wasn't completely broken. Instead, I found that even the smallest shards of happiness might yet light my way. Buddy continued to be my greatest ally, my steadfast presence in a realm that frequently appeared ambiguous. The delicate nuance of his action, be it the soft undulation of his tail or in a soothing manner, he positioned himself next to me, stood as a touching reminder that even in the midst of the most challenging days, there was a presence, a flicker of optimism and value. That the night pressed down upon my heart, a burden I could scarcely bear. Ethan and I had scarcely uttered a word as the hours passed. And when I at last summoned the bravery to make contact, he replied with little else than an aloof motion, withdrawing into the illumination of his phone, casting a lingering sensation within me, more isolated than ever. I stepped into the room, my heart burdened by an unsettling, a tightness in my chest. The pain of isolation, a feeling that had transformed, all too familiar, pressed down upon my heart. As I sat on the brink of as I lay on the bed, a wave of emotion enveloped me, and I sensed the tears begin to flow, trickling down my cheeks. It was something more profound, a subtle pain that remained in the shadows of my heart. It was an abyssal void that slowly surrounds you, rendering you adrift, and adrift, an eerie echo of everything that is missing. In that instant, the sound of his footsteps resonated in my ears, awakening a profound sensation inside me. With a gentle push, Buddy opened the door. And, at that instant, he advanced with steadfast confidence. Progressing onward he nestled at my feet, looking up at me just as he always had, his gaze imbued with profound insight that seemed nearly ethereal. Even in my quietude, he appeared to understand the silent expressions, the silence that hung in the air. He stood up he vacated his seat and journeyed toward the bed, an uncommon gesture for him, one that often necessitated a soft push or a gentle plea. That subtle act awakened an intense feeling stirring inside me. I enveloped him with every ounce of my being, permitting the tears to cascade down with unbridled tenderness. As I softly touched, an overwhelming wave of gratitude washed over him, flowed through me, woven with a profound, an agonizing ache that rendered me adrift, and uncertain about how to find my way through my emotions swirled within him as Buddy found himself enveloped in silence that weighed down. Expressions confined inside him, trapped in a web of his own making. He found himself unable to give me your word that all will unfold as it should, all right. Yet, the core of his existence conveyed a profound message. In that brief instant, I began to grasp the profound nature of the necessity of this bond. It was remarkable how something as straightforward as his presence was transforming into a vital connection, for I am a wellspring of resilience in my battle to endure. I lingered there, enveloped in. His embrace held a thought that lingered, persistently occupying my thoughts. What is it that the bond one share with him is so? Is it distinct from what I convey to Ethan? It was a query that enveloped me with trepidation. It was an instant of lucidity, the soft murmur of comprehension that echoed. Deep within me, I sensed the burden of, assured, as though the reality had been, remaining in quiet anticipation for my recognition. What Buddy offered me went beyond mere gestures. It was precisely what I have longed for over the years. A deep warmth envelopes surrounds us, a soft nudge of the attention we seek and the unwavering affection that cultivates our essence, spirits. Within that softly illuminated chamber, a deep understanding enveloped me as if a long-buried fragment of my essence was at last breaking apart. No longer will I silence the whispers of my heart, compelling me to heed its whispers and contemplate, regarding its veracity. Ethan was not the origin, regarding the matter, and Buddy did not maintain the response. It was the void that burdened, weighed heavily on my heart. A void that had remained for an extended period, allowing me to contemplate its importance. The days and that night resonated deeply, distinct. A flame was kindled inside me, shedding light on the profound corners of my existence. In that instant, I discovered myself wrestling, imbued with a deep sensation that was simultaneously brave yet accepting. It was a power that struck a profound chord within me, indisputable and intense. One afternoon, as I prepared the evening meal, my hands instinctively danced over the ingredients, their own, as my thoughts wandered into distant realms, adrift, immersed in a realm of contemplation. As I contemplate the past few months, I found myself profoundly touched by the way Buddy shone a light on a segment of my existence that I thought to be eternally gone. To feel the deep feeling of genuinely perceived, truly listened to, and profoundly cherished. It resides not in the phrases we utter or the magnificent displays we orchestrate, yet instead, within the unadorned, genuine presence an exchange unfolds. In the quiet, within that kitchen, I ultimately accepted a truth I had long eluded, a dawning realization that had remained in the dim recesses of my heart for years. My union has disintegrated into fragments. Ethan possessed his own merits. Nevertheless, he did not quite become the person genuinely essential in my existence. His heart felt, the void left behind was deeply felt, deep inside me, one that I didn't completely understand for a while. It felt as though an essence of my being felt absent, silently, shaping my emotions and thoughts without my awareness. Yet in that instant of insight, presented by Buddy, I discovered myself no longer able to look away. Buddy revealed to me the genuine nature of unconditional love. In his presence, I discover an elusive peace, a void of anticipations, a soft letting go from accusations, and an emancipation from expectations. He stands beside me, presenting a gift I believed I was deserving of receiving, his fleeting instances, his essence, his empathy. As I reconciled with this reality, a profound ache nestled deep within me. A tormenting recognition of the profound distance that Ethan maintained. In return, it became unfeasible for me to proceed, ignoring him completely. The void was not of Buddy's creation, nor could it shall be adorned with leisurely strolls or serene instances. It was an issue, one that awakened a deep resonance, a chasm that had quietly widened through the passage of time, now revealed to my gaze, unfeasible to conceal with simple rationalizations. As I leaned back as I stood in the doorway, my eyes were drawn to Ethan. From the kitchen, a moment frozen in time. A tide of grief enveloped me as I observed his deep sense of detachment, a vivid recollection of all that we once faced. encountering this truth brimming with a deep sense of urgency as I came to understand that it will necessitate a complete metamorphosis of my existence. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed the weight of the moment bears down upon me. The moment of understanding that this was indeed the pivotal moment had arrived. I could either accept it now or it would vanish into eternity. I discovered it. It is no longer feasible to ignore a profound longing for affection, for intimacy, for that lively sensation of genuinely existing, revived anew. Following what seemed like after an endless span of time, I have at last discovered the bravery to face the reality of my being. In the stillness in my contemplation, I came to understand that there existed a deep insight I had gathered from Buddy. True love is not characterized by desperation. It does not remain in ambiguity or pursue finding satisfaction in unexpected corners. Indeed, love manifests in its most unadulterated essence, simple and authentic. That was the core of my aspirations, the image I cherished, deeply cherished throughout my existence. In the days that ensued, a deep transformation began to reveal itself from within. In that instant, I welcomed the truth of my marriage and faced my authentic. A deep sense of clarity enveloped the desires, myself. A pursuit that had slipped through my fingers for an eternity. For the first time, an epiphany surged, loomed above me. The matter reached far beyond only Ethan. I have come to understand that the issue resided within me. The aspect of myself that I misplaced along this journey. An iteration I once held dear but ultimately abandoned. In my pursuit of organization, I poured innumerable hours devoted to preserving a feeling, the reins of authority over all that surrounds me to make certain that the house exuded the perfect ambience fulfill all the expectations set before. I cannot dispel the sense that I have failed. Something significant slipped through my digits. The core of my happiness, my emotions run profound, my yearnings. Buddy had disclosed something to me in a way that is uniquely my own. One morning, as we wandered under the expansive, unblemished sky, I took a moment to look at him. He pivoted his gaze in my direction, his ears awash with insight, and his gaze emitted a deep aura of. In a moment of serenity, I found myself kneeling. Thank you, Buddy. Your support is truly appreciated. Your steadfast support means the world to me, holds immense significance for me, and I appreciate your unwavering faith in me throughout the most challenging times, for disclosing to me the ability to experience emotions remains inside me. I came to understand that there remains an opportunity for growth within me. In that ephemeral instant, a wave of understanding enveloped me, urging to embrace transformation and pursue an alternate route. It had surpassed simply a matter of whether Ethan and I discovered a way to potentially salvage our marriage. Myself wrestling with is it possible for me to genuinely save? I sensed a profound truth within myself that I was deserving of something more, something authentic. And I came to understand that I could not. The silent stretches, muffling the cries of my heart. He transformed into a constant beacon throughout the haze of emotions, shedding light on the journey ahead. Before me, the bridge that guided me back to my genuine essence. As I watched him flit, with a sense of delight amidst the scattered leaves, a deep understanding enveloped me. I understood that this would be the journey I would proceed onward. In my pursuit of wholeness, I contemplated whether it would be in conjunction, Ethan, or in solitude. Have you ever navigated the profound realms of feeling that have you found comfort in an entity or individual you have yet to encounter, eagerly awaiting? Similar to Buddy, I would find myself deeply appreciative to listen to your narrative in the observations. If this video struck a chord with you, I extend your gratitude by appreciating it, joining the channel, and engaging the small notification bell. In this manner, you shall not overlook additional opportunities, heartfelt stories such as this one. The support genuinely resonates with me and motivates me to continue creating and sharing content that strikes a chord within you. Participating in the exchange with Ethan seemed to embody, steering through a tempest, every word burdened by the depth of my feelings. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the remnants of our meal lingered in the air, I stood up from my chair and softly extended an invitation, him to take a seat for a discussion. At the outset, it seemed as if he ignored my existence, as though my voice carried no significance in his gaze. He appeared, adrift in the labyrinth of his mind, as was his frequent custom. Yet this time, he was resolute in his intent to face the dialogue directly. There was no space for me to retreat. "Oh, Ethan," I said, my voice trembling with feeling. "The moment has come for us." I find myself at a loss for words. The weight of it all is quite daunting, burdened by the heaviness of my situation. It's growing increasingly intolerable to persist in this. In this moment, I discover myself shrouded in a deep feeling of solitude envelopes me, its weight pressing down on my heart. It seems as if the endeavors I once held dear are fading into the distance, left me in a state of uncertainty. He looked skyward, a spark of discomfort traversing his visage. "Might you assist me? Do you grasp what I'm saying? What is the source of all this?" His voice trembled, ensnared in a fragile ballet between an overwhelming sense of disbelief mingled with irritation, departing from the weight hung in the air. I opened my innermost feelings, confiding in him, genuineness, welcoming the reality as one, deciding against assigning fault. It was a fleeting instance of openness where truth prevails, with compassion. I bared my soul, conveying the profound feeling of void that the rift between us had forged within me. It was through Buddy that I began my journey to genuinely grasp the significance of this epiphany. His response took me by surprise, sentinel, allowing me to contemplate the profound, belonging to me, anticipations. Might this stem from the dog's presence? He conveyed his thoughts with a sigh of frustration. "Are you genuinely proposing that a creature delivers? Do you experience more joy than I do?" In that instant, a part of me longed to withdraw, to allow the dialogue to hang in the air, pristine and uncharted. Yet, I discovered the resolve to endure, to strive, press on regardless of the burden of. In that fleeting moment, I was enveloped by a sense of uncertainty, a profound sense of meaning in our dialogue, even if he couldn't comprehend my words. It marked a crucial moment, one that echoed not only among us, but deeply ingrained in my being. It transcends mere Buddy, Ethan. On this occasion, I replied with an enhanced feeling of certainty. The deep comprehension he illuminated for me. We must pursue a journey to regain what has been lost, slipping away from our grasp. Should it still be there, in some manner, however, should we choose to be passive, nothing will ever change. Ethan sat in quietude, the burden of words left unsaid, thick with tension, uncertain of how to shatter the stillness that surrounded him. The response lacked any semblance of encouragement, yet it also failed to provide a definitive dismissal. In that instant, his silence conveyed a wealth of meaning, unveiling a profound layer of contemplation and feeling that I could perceive. It was sufficient for an unspoken connection that lingers between us, a communal realm in which language was absent, essential. At that instant, Buddy stayed, my unwavering anchor, stabilizing me in the midst of the chaos. That evening, following in a deeply meaningful exchange, I uncovered him, as he invariably did, waiting with unwavering patience, next to the bed. As he softly, gently caressed his head, a profound comprehension flowed through me. The path he was taking to embark on would be laden with obstacles. However, in that moment of clarity, a glimmer of hope emerged. Deep inside me lies a profound understanding that I held the strength to confront whatever awaits on the horizon. Each stride reveals, gradually, a soft nudge to welcome the path that lies before us. The moments that followed, our conversation did not evolve into something remarkable. However, there existed a profound transformation stirred within me. Ethan and I started to delve into more profound dialogues. Nevertheless, we engaged with them with care, as though we were delicately lingering in the uncharted expanse of the bond we once shared, now a distant memory. We wandered astray. In the midst of the lingering, awkward pauses and the tangible, in the intervals of separation, there existed also, gentle, though modest, progress, that whisper of optimism. Still, there lingered an unmistakable transformation occurring within me. For the first time in what seemed like in the vast expanse of eternity, Ethan felt a subtle transformation within himself. He came to understand that my joy was no longer bound exclusively to his deeds or inactions. Thanks to Buddy, I uncovered something genuinely vital. My well-being lies entirely within my grasp. Buddy continued to be my unwavering companion, my steadfast in those instances when the shadows of uncertainty loomed, ready to encroach once more. His vigilant gaze and steadfast tranquility emerged as a profound, just a note to remind you that I uncovered something truly invaluable. The courage required to genuinely delve deep and accept my true self. I started to welcome experiences that once seemed unattainable. I pour my devotion to cultivating my well-being, discovering comfort found within the pages of books and the soft cadence of my steps. There is an abundance to existence beyond merely the strolls in the company of Buddy.